Hi, I wanted to share with you a card that I've been making using the Brushed Roses stencil from Funky Fossil Designs. This is the card I'm going to demonstrate, but also I've made this one similar, but you know, an area has been masked off. And then there's this one also where I've blended the colours out towards the edge. So returning to the card that I'm going to make, the idea is that we'll mask off the edges so we keep those nice and clean. In the central area we'll use 3 colours of Distress Oxide inks, dried Marigold, Saltwater Taffy and picked raspberry as an accent. So let's get going. There we go. I've got a 6x6 card blank here. Just to keep the card closed, I'll pop a couple of dabs of repositionable tape, glue, so I can take that off afterwards. Now I need my stencil tape. This is a low-tack stencil tape. It's lovely to use, and I'll pop the supplier in the link so you know where you can get it from. So I'm just tearing off pieces of tape, matching it to the edge of the card. Oh, that's not quite right. Yeah. And now the 2 other edges, like so. There we go. So this is the Funky Fossil Brushed Roses stencil that we're going to use. It's a beautiful stencil and you get great effects. So I'm trying to decide, do I want the large roses at the top or do I want the smaller ones? I think I'll have the large roses at the bottom, like so. So I'm just going to pop a bit of stencil tape across like that, just to hold it in place. So using dried Marigold Distress Oxide ink and a Funky Fossil blending brush, just going to gently fill in the central areas of the roses. You don't have to be too precise with this, because we're going in with other colours, so they'll take up the space. There we are. So that's about that for the dried Marigold. Now I'm going to use Saltwater Taffy. And it doesn't matter whether you go over the Marigold colour you've already laid down, because you can always add more colour afterwards. There we go, so that's the Saltwater Taffy. Now we're going in with picked raspberry, and I don't use too much of that. I just use it around the edges of them. Just dab some off there. Just use it around the edges of the roses, just to give a little hint of the colour. let's have a look and see how it's looking. Well, that's not too bad at all. So I think I will leave it at that. So I'll put the inks away for now. Lift the stencil up. Now while those, while the stencil tape is still in place, I've got my spritzer. I'm going to spritz the surface of the inked area. This will allow the colours to bleach a little, and it gives a lovely subtle sort of, more of a vintage sort of feel. So here we go. If you haven't got a spritzer, you could also wet a fan shaped paintbrush and just you know, dab your paintbrush so that the water droplets fall. Anyway, I'm going to use my spritzer. Let's leave it to sit for a few seconds. You can see darker areas at the moment. There we are, that's probably it. And then just blot it with a piece of kitchen paper. That'll take up any surplus water. So there we are, it's given you a nice mottled look to the roses. It's just sort of less severe somehow, more gentle, I suppose that's the word. So there we have the background there. Just move that away. I think I'll give that a little blast with my heat gun just to dry it off fully, because it feels a little damp. Excuse the noise a minute. There we are. So really you can put any sentiment you want on this card. I have used a funky fossil sentiment. It's a hello die, and I think this may be out of stock now, but you can use any word die, or perhaps you've got a stamp that you want to put on it. Anyway, so here's a die cut that I made earlier, and so I'm just going to glue that now. I'm using a quickie glue pen. It's ideal for fine detail like this, but you do have to be quite quick because it can go off or dry very quickly. So don't hang around doing this. Like I say, it's great for fine detail, but because there's only a fine amount of glue on it, it does dry quite quickly too. I'll just move that around a little bit. There we are. And then it's just positioning it wherever you want it to go. So I think I'm going to position mine about there. Now you can put any embellishments you want on this. You know, perhaps you've got some sticky gems or